Yes, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this RUBIZMO virtual visit, part of the RUBIZMO Cafe Talk. It's the last session before the summer break, so I hope we will bring lots of inspiration before the summer to you. Today we will go to Spain, visit the Oleícola El Tejar, and then to Ireland, the Macaulay wood fuels. So we have both Francesco and Kenny representing both companies. So as it's shown here, we will start with Oleícola El Tejar and Francisco. So I think we could start now already. If Francisco, you want to say a few words, and then we will have a quick introduction of the process, and you will be able to ask a couple of questions, and then we will look more at the business model at Oleícola El Tejar before going to Ireland and Kenny that will present the company and the business model, and then we'll have a joint question session at the end of the meeting. It will be a 1 hour session, so yeah, if you feel free to ask your questions in the chat so we can summarize them at the end. And I think we are ready to go with you, Francisco.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I am Francisco Galán from Oleícola El Tejar, Spain. I am part of the investigation and research department. We mainly do circular economy. I hope you like the video, and we'd like to show you what are we doing.
Thank you, Francisco. So we are going to launch the video.
Thank you, Pablo.
Bienvenido a Oleícola El Tejar.
Welcome to Oleícola El Tejar. It gives me great satisfaction that cooperativas agroalimentarias of España have decided to do this interview and feature so that Spain and the world can get to know about Oleícola El Tejar. Oleícola El Tejar is a second-degree cooperative with more than 50 years of history, which currently manages between 30 and 35% of Spanish olive pomace. Since we began our journey more than 50 years ago, we have always strived to add value to the products derived from the olive grove. Our goal is clear: add value and respect the environment. Our 245 partners, distributed throughout the Andalusian region, have worked hard. I always say that if Oleícola El Tejar did not exist, it would have to be created the next day because of the difficulty of managing such large volumes, in the vicinity of 2 million tons, in such short periods of time. The products currently have between 70 and 75% humidity and are non-stackable. So everything has to be put into deposits, respecting all the current environmental measures, which are increasingly strict. As they should be, we must be truly respectful towards the environment.
Tenemos que ser muy respetuosos con el medio ambiente.
The olive tree, a traditional Mediterranean crop, has grown and developed the most in Andalusia. This has led to the existence of an important industrial sector dedicated to obtaining olive oil and using its resulting byproducts. Oleícola El Tejar Nuestra Señora de Araceli, Sociedad Cooperativa Andaluza, was precisely created more than 5 decades ago to make the most of said byproducts. Oleícola El Tejar was established in 1967 as a second-degree cooperative, with 5 cooperative olive mills as its founding members. When it first began, it extracted the olive pomace contained in the byproduct generated by the mills when obtaining olive oil, based on traditional pressing methods.
Históricamente, los sistemas de extracción que había eran sistemas.
Historically, oil was extracted by means of pressing systems. They ground and pressed the olive in a press, giving a stackable byproduct. traditional olive pomace, a paste which was used to feed pigs, as fuel, etc. Then centrifuges were created, and we moved on to a new era of centrifugation. The first ones were three-phase centrifuges and extracted oil, pomace, and alpagen, vegetable water, which was dumped into rivers. The rivers had a high volume of water in winter, and there were no regulations governing it. Then large deposits started to be used because of regulations regarding waste dumping. So they were built in all the towns of Andalusia. The deposits were difficult to manage because the regulations were demanding, and because they also collected rainwater. The extraction system continued to be perfected, resulting in a two-phase centrifugation system instead of a three-phase one. It extracts pomace, vegetable water, and pomace oil.
However, as technology evolved and the number of hectares of olive groves increased, the volume of pomace given to Oleícola El Tejar by its members and its level of humidity also grew. This began to pose serious problems for its treatment. A technically viable, profitable, and environmentally friendly solution had to be found, as the concern regarding climate change required a move towards more sustainable business models. In this scenario of constant change, Oleícola El Tejar spearheaded the implementation of cutting-edge measures to adapt its treatment methods so as to fully use the new byproducts that came from the olive grove. Over time, this enabled them to develop innovative industrial technologies applied to the different types of pomace and other byproducts, thus diversifying its main activity and obtaining new co-products with added value. Nowadays, Oleícola El Tejar has more than 240 cooperative mills as its members, with about 100,000 farmers, generating around 300 jobs and a turnover of about 60 million euros. From these mills, it receives 30% of the national production of olive pomace, stone, leaf, and pruning waste. Value is added to them by transforming them into pomace oil, bioproducts, and electrical energy generation, bioenergy. In recent years, the average amount of raw materials received and processed is approximately 2 million tons a year. To understand the importance of Oleícola El Tejar within the value chain, it is necessary to start at the origin, the olive grove itself. The olive grove. Olive growing is one of the most important economic sectors in Andalusia, especially for rural Andalusia. According to the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries and Sustainable Development of Andalusia, it holds 40% of the workforce in the agricultural sector and accounts for 20% of Andalusian agri-food exports. 97% of the villages of Andalusia have olive groves, and it is the engine behind 1,500 agribusinesses. About 250,000 families from more than 300 villages live directly or indirectly from olive grove cultivation. Historically, this sector has always been present in Andalusia, but it has grown in the last decade to exceed 1.5 million hectares. Jaén is the province with the largest olive grove area, with 586,000 hectares, followed by Córdoba with 352,000 hectares, and Granada, which has about 185,000 hectares of olive groves. This represents more than 15.5% of its geographical area. The landscapes of the Andalusian olive grove are being considered to become a UNESCO World Heritage Site in January 2022. All this data is just a fraction of the reasons that demonstrate the importance of the Andalusian olive grove and the olive oil sector. The traditional olive grove exploitation and olive oil production model begins with farmers harvesting olives, following increasingly mechanized methods. In addition to the olives used to produce olive oil in mills, the leaves and pruning waste from olive trees generate a very important volume of biomass, to which value can be added in the biorefineries, in addition to being a source of renewable energy for power plants. In this sense, Oleícola El Tejar is one of the few companies in Spain today that has been able to establish viable, strong and reliable logistics for the collection of olive tree pruning waste. It thus provides a valuable service to the farmers of the member cooperatives who, otherwise, would be forced to pay external managers for its collection and disposal, or to burn this biomass in their own plots of land to avoid phytosanitary problems, hence emitting large amounts of CO2 and wasting its energetic potential. The process carried out in Oleícola El Tejar. The alperujo, or pomace, produced in the mills contains a humidity of 70% and is received by Oleícola El Tejar's 9 treatment centres, where samples are taken for analysis. Once the samples are taken, it is unloaded after having verified its weight. Later, using pumps, the pomace is led to the system where a complex process of adding value begins. In general terms, the treatment consists of pitting of the pomace to obtain the olive stone parts it contains. Stones are mainly used as a biofuel in thermal processes, although some of it is also used to obtain bioproducts in biorefineries. The pitted pomace continues on to the next treatment stage in the decanters, where oil is physically extracted. Decanter, centrifuge, or physical extraction refers to the separation of the residual oil contained in the pitted pomace. We thus obtain raw olive pomace oil for it to be sold. Alpecin, or vegetable water effluent, used as a refrigerant fluid in electrical energy generation. And wet fatty pomace, which has to be subjected to a drying process before the following treatments. Drying. The resulting wet fatty pomace has a high water content. To facilitate its handling, it is necessary to reduce its humidity to a level which allows it to be extracted and finally used as fuel. Drying is achieved thanks to controlled caloric energy exchange in rotating systems, either taking advantage of turbine exhaust gases, as in the centre in Cabra, or generating it in furnaces, where biomass derived from olive stones, pruning waste, leaves, and olive mark is self-consumed. This evaporates most of its water and results in a dry, fatty pomace of no more than 10% humidity, suitable for the chemical extraction process. Chemical extraction of oil. The byproduct from the drying process, dry fatty pomace, still has a quantity of oil that must be extracted for optimal use of the resulting biomass. This is achieved through the use of food solvents, hexane, which results in crude olive mark oil, which will be refined in other industries. And, as a byproduct, moisture and fat-free olive mark, which is sent to power plants as biofuel. Power plants and bioenergy production. Oleícola El Tejar became a pioneer in Spain in the production of electricity from olive grove biomass with the inauguration in 1995 of its first power plant, which was later followed by 3 more. By burning biomass from olive stone, pruning waste, leaves and mark, the necessary heat is generated for a turbine to produce 100% renewable electrical energy, bioenergy, that is discharged into the grid 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, with a total capacity of 42 megawatts. Nowadays, this generates around 300,000 megawatt hours a year. Since 1995, an estimated 10 million tons of CO2 emissions have been avoided. Since one of Oleícola El Tejar's fundamental goals is to recover and reuse the greatest possible amount of resources in its processes, it developed an innovative system called hygroscopic cycle, which takes advantage of the hygroscopic nature of the additives which are necessary for the steam cycle, as well as the salts received with the water input. The incorporation of this technology has allowed 2 of its power plants to no longer need cooling water, as well as to significantly improve their electrical performance. In addition, as a result of combustion, potassium-rich ashes are generated, which are used as biofertilizers in the olive grove, thus resulting in a waste-free, closed-loop olive production cycle. Biorefinery. Oleícola El Tejar has carried out numerous studies that have resulted in the development of technologies for a new transformation of the olive grove's byproducts, mainly the leaves from the olive grove and the mills, providing added value before their use as fuel. This makes them more profitable and also responds to the sector's need for an appreciation in value for all of its byproducts. An example of this is the inauguration in 2012 of a pilot plant aimed at obtaining high added value natural bioproducts. The olive sector's agri-food biomass is used for pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, animal feed, and cosmetic purposes. Resource circularity. Biomass is the basis of the circular bioeconomy, understood as an economy based on the sustainable use of biomass to meet the food, material, and energy needs of a growing population. Its use for obtaining energy or value-added bioproducts should, therefore, not be understood in isolation, but as part of a value chain, in order to guarantee a sustainable supply and avoid distortions in raw material markets. By taking advantage of technological development, the bioeconomy provides new economic opportunities with the creation of skilled and high-quality employment, which will help absorb the surplus in rural labour resulting from the transformation of agriculture. It also helps generate stable incomes and offers a strong backing for rural livelihoods. Oleícola El Tejar's commitment to adding value to olive grove byproducts is currently a clear example of the circular bioeconomy, having also demonstrated a strong commitment to environmental conservation and protection. Oleícola El Tejar's business model arose to respond to the olive sector's needs and problems with regard to its byproducts and their profitability. The relationship that unites Oleícola El Tejar with primary producers is materialized through the partners that supply their byproducts to the organization's facilities.
El modelo de gestión de Oleícola El Tejar se inspira en los valores.
Oleícola El Tejar's management model is inspired by cooperative values and principles. Values such as responsibility, equality, cooperation, democracy or equity, and respect for the environment. And cooperative principles which were defined by the International Cooperative Alliance, including voluntary and open membership. In other words, Oleícola El Tejar is available for any company that wants to use our services, as long as we have the capacity to do so. Also, the principle of democratic management by its partners, who actively participate in setting policies and strategies and, of course, in decision-making. Another important principle that also applies is that of autonomy, independence or interest in the community. When the partners carry out their corporate purpose, they receive a benefit while also benefiting society as a whole. Oleícola El Tejar has also always shown a commitment to incorporating new technologies and to cooperative integration processes. This has allowed it to acquire a significant size, a volume that represents 30% of the national pomace sector and almost 40% of the pomace sector in Andalusia. In addition to contributing to its integration processes, this has allowed it to become better positioned within the pomace oil market, to minimize costs, access economies of scale, and award it greater financial capacity. Oleícola El Tejar has as its mission to receive the olive grove's byproducts, add value to them, providing a service to its partners, always respecting the environment and maintaining employee health and safety. It also has a vision to face the challenge of continuing to be a benchmark in the use of olive grove biomass, obtaining pomace oil, energy and bioproducts in a sustainable way, creating jobs, creating stable jobs, creating quality jobs. Here are some of Oleícola El Tejar's key figures. It is made up of 242 mills, and since it was founded, it has processed more than 28 million tons of pomace. It has produced more than 5 million megawatts, has avoided the emission of 10 million tons of CO2, and has total assets of more than 250 million euros and a workforce of 300 people. I would also like to explain that in 2019, the General Assembly approved a strategic plan for the 2019 to 2023 period. A strategic plan that aims to increase our storage capacity and our drying and extraction capacity. This strategic plan, in short, aims to make Oleícola El Tejar a much stronger, solid and environmentally safer company. Oleícola El Tejar's commitment to adding value using olive grove biomass and transforming it into electrical energy is one of the most important in the Iberian Peninsula, having been a pioneer in providing solutions that have demonstrated strong environmental awareness.
Una alta sensibilización con el medio ambiente.
Una vez hecho este pequeño repaso, porque para hablar con profundidad de oleícola,
Now you've had a bit of a taster of what the olive oil industry is like. Since exploring it in depth, we would entail sitting down over more than a single morning. I would like to invite you, when this terrible pandemic that has changed our lives in the last 2 years passes, to visit the facility in Espejo, which is going to be our star, our crown jewel. It will include the whole process and maybe even, in the future, a possible refinery. You'll be able to picture in real terms what managing such large volumes is like, how things are done, see the product coming in, and how in the end we eliminate everything. Thank you to Cooperatives Agroalimentarias de España for the opportunity you have offered us, and we are available for anything you need because we are all in the same boat. We are cooperatives. We have to keep fighting for the destination to be a good destination for everyone.
sea un viaje bueno para todos.
So that was it. We hope you like it.